this is how we do it.
You're listening to the Nasser Kyobe Show.
Nasser played not just high-level high school football. He was a logger at UPS.
Over the middle it goes, and the pass was complete, and he gets absolutely belted at the 40-yard line. The sideline erupts as Nasser Kyobe just exploded the wide receiver.
Did Nasser say things like, I'm sending you to outer space?
And as he got his momentum going, was chopped down. Nice tackle there from Nasser Kyobe.
Go Hawks.
How's it going, everybody? You're listening to another edition of the Nasser Kyobe Show. Reminder, you can go to my channel, YouTube, under Nasser Kyobe to catch all post-podcasts that I've done. But today is going to be, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat because I got one of my good buddies on the line here. Known this guy since we were in 8th grade. Wasn't always a friend, but definitely has become one now. We played on a semifinal basketball team that went to state our senior in high school. He played Division II basketball at St. Martin's University, and if I'm correct, he was a 3-year starter there. And without further ado, I bring in my good buddy Roger O'Neill on the Sky Vodka Bold Move Hotline. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, glad to be here, man. This is exciting. Happy to be on the show.
Great. We got a jam-packed show for you guys. We got a lot of stuff to dive into, but it's actually fitting that we jump in right with this. We're gonna kind of talk about the Seattle winning its first title, which is obviously doesn't get old. But it's funny because me and Roger I can vividly remember us watching that game at Chase's house back in 2005. It's crazy how long that's been, huh?
Yeah, man, I was nuts at the time, and I don't know if we fully appreciated the magnitude of that game at the time. I know it was a big deal, but it was kind of more of a social event, and to think if we had won that game, how big it would have been, the magnitude of winning this game this year. But yeah, to wait another 8 years to get back there, and we're so hungry, and man, it feels good.
Oh yeah, and I've been talking about this since the season started, man. It's been a long time coming. Just cut and dry, it's been a long time coming. I remember that day like it was yesterday, and I'm gonna play a cut for you right now, and this is the final call of the Super Bowl. And if we could have heard this in 2005, I mean, my God, but here it is.
Inside of 40 seconds to play, Anderson with an inside handoff on that 2nd and 7 from the 41. It has been decided maybe since the safety in the first quarter. The teams are going to head to the middle of the field. That is going to do it. 12s, they're bringing the trophy home. Your Seahawks, Super Bowl 48 champions.
It still doesn't seem real that we can call ourselves Super Bowl champs. I mean, what's happened in the city, we've only been alive for 22, 23 years, so we don't know it as bad as other people do. But, I mean, the only thing close to this we had 116 wins with the Mariners in 2001. We had 95, but to be honest, we were pretty young. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the 01 Mariners. The song tells some good teams, but they were never, teasing us with the championship, at least while we were alive. But man, that clip still sounds good. I don't know when what the over/under is for when those goosebumps are not going to happen again, but I don't know if there is a number. I think that's going to be goosebumps the rest of our life right there.
Absolutely. But I just can't get off it. Let's listen to Percy returning the opening half kickoff, which was the dagger in the game.
Short kick. Percy Harvin with the catch. He's on the run. He breaks free. He's across the 40. The speed. There he goes. Midfield. Look out. He's going to go. Take the second half kickoff all the way back. Baby! 88 yards for a touchdown. We knew Percy was going to do it tonight. Touchdown, Seahawks! No flags, are you kidding me? Percy Harvin, the Seahawks fans, the 12s are going nuts, and the Seahawks stretch their lead to 28-0. I don't believe it.
Woo! I just get hyped when I hear that every freaking time, man. But honestly, though, I don't think, and I'm going to ask you the question just straight up. Do you think, obviously people around here are kind of starting to talk dynasty already. And we know that there's a huge cap hit we're going to have. We're going to have to pay Sherman. We're going to have to pay Earl Thomas. We're going to have to pay Russell Wilson. We're going to have to pay all these guys. And you've seen what's happened already. We're let go Sidney Rice. Brett Bryant's going to be another casualty. Do you think that we're naive to be thinking dynasty here for a city that has won one championship in the last 40 years? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I look at this from two different angles because on one hand, I mean, we're the surefire favorites next year to win it again. We're so young, and we do have to make some decisions, and some guys are going to have to go, but we're so dang young, and we're so talented. And, I have full confidence. I've never had so much confidence in the Seattle team that the front office is just going to always make the right decision. I don't second guess anything they're about to do, no matter what they do. They could trade Russell Wilson tomorrow, and I'd have full confidence that they know what the heck they're doing, which is strange as a Seattle fan to have that kind of confidence. But on the other hand, yeah, I mean, when the Sonics won in '79, I doubt people our age at the time were thinking they were going to have to wait 35 years for another one. They probably thought, there'd be another one coming right away. So who knows, man? I mean, we're so good, and I think we have a great chance. We put ourselves, they talk about the window to win championships, especially in the NFL, and our window's still very much open, and so I guess that's all you can ask for, and hopefully we take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that's kind of the vibe of the whole 12th man in a sense that, yeah, there's that window, but we're so dang young, and like you said, we trust everything those guys do. I mean, the only truly just failure that I can think of in this regime was Charlie Whitehurst.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other guys like Lendo White and other guys, they didn't have a chance. If you're not going to do it, you're going to get cut. You're going to be out of here.
Right.
So I'm right there with you. I think we can win multiple championships, but we still got to kind of pinch ourselves in reality check because, I mean, we had an awesome year, and I think we're still stuck in that phase. But with what we have going, I think what we're doing now is we're getting ready to make sure that we can pay Sherman and we can pay Earl Thomas and we can pay Russell Wilson because those guys, I think, are irreplaceable, and I think that's how they feel about it. Sidney Rice getting let go was great because it took a huge hit off our cap. And we have a lot of decisions to go, but I got another question for you. What do you think of Zach Miller? He was the highest paid Seahawk last year, and what do you think? Because some people believe that he's undervalued, underappreciated, and even though he doesn't show up in the stat sheet, he's really vital for our team. If we let him go, that they'll save our cap a lot of money. What are your thoughts on keeping Zach for next year and years to come?
Yeah, and again, whatever we end up doing, I have full confidence it's the right decision. But a guy like Zach Miller, I do think that he's underappreciated a little bit. You're not going to walk into the stadium and see a whole bunch of Zach Miller jerseys out there. He doesn't get talked about a whole bunch. But like you said, it'd be a huge relief on our cap if we decide to part ways, and maybe a guy like ASJ falls to us or whatever, and if we could get a tight end in the draft or someone we find that maybe is a little under the radar again. I feel like we could. I think he's replaceable, I guess is what I'm getting at, and he was a big part, and he did some things for us this year that were great. But I wouldn't shed too many tears if we let him go, seeing as how much relief that's going to give our cap.
Yeah, I totally agree here, and I would love to see ASJ down here. He didn't have a great senior year, but we know the guy could play. If you listen to all the scouts, they compare him to Gronkowski. He can catch the ball. The knock on him is he's not a tremendous blocker, and he doesn't have tremendous speed. He's kind of in between on both, but we saw what he can do. We watched him play at UW, and I think if we can get a guy similar to that, we could see Zach go, especially because we know we're going to have to pay a lot of money to keep some of the guys that we have, and we still got to make a decision on, Doug Baldwin and Golden Tate and that side of the ball in offense. So, there's a lot of decisions to be made, but I think it's clear that we have something here, and a dynasty is definitely something that's not out of the question. Because, when you looked at any of the other teams, let's see, in 2005, we thought we'd be back the next year, but we weren't that young. You knew the window wasn't going to be super long.
Right.
Alexander turned 30 and all that stuff, so I think this is a really completely different feel. So dynasty is definitely something that could happen here. But let's switch gears a little bit here. So Richard Sherman.
My guy.
Yeah, he's a lot of our guys out here. He doesn't really shy away from the microphone or talking or national headlines. So as we know, he went through a lot of stuff going into the Super Bowl with his interview with Aaron Andrews and some of the stuff he's done before that. And that kind of brings us up to, what do we expect from these guys as role models? Should we expect them to be a role model? And is it wrong, some of the scrutiny that Sherman went through this year? And just in case anyone forget about what Sherman can do when he gets behind a microphone, I'm going to play you a cut when he was on First Take about this time last year talking to Skip Bayless.
I'm the top of my field, so I'm all pro. I'm the best, one of the best 22 players in the NFL. You're going to brush it off, but I don't think you're the best 22 anything in sports and in media and anything. I think you think more of yourself than you actually can, prove. But
do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
In my 24 years of life, I'm better at life than you.
Oh, wait, hold on. He's not done.
I am intelligent enough and capable enough to understand that you are ignorant, pompous, egotistical, cretin. And that's really what it comes down to. And I'm going to crush you on here in front of everybody because I'm tired of hearing about it.
And, of course, our favorite interview with Aaron Andrews.
Richard, let me ask you the final play. Take me through it.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get. Don't you ever talk about me.
Who was talking about you?
Crabtree, don't you open your mouth about the best. Or I'm going to shut it for you real quick. LOB.
Who's talking about you? Who is talking about you? Love it, love it. But seriously, Raj, I just got to hear it. So, I mean, these guys don't really ask to be role models and all this stuff, but why does Sherman get so much criticism for being a thug and just a bunch of racist stuff? Why is that?
You're absolutely right. They didn't ask to be role models, and that's one way I've thought about that. But on the other hand, that comes with the job. When you decide to make all that money playing football, doing something you love, I mean that's something that comes with it, and he knows that. But I have a hard time with the him being called a thug and all the backlash, and it's so easy for people to hop on Twitter, and I know we'll touch on Twitter later, but people to hop on Twitter, anonymously and just attack someone like that. But I think it has to do with people. The Seahawks relatively came out of nowhere on a national scale. We know they were good and young, and they didn't come out of nowhere for us. But on a national scale, they kind of came out of nowhere, and that people don't like to be surprised like that. They expect to see the Patriots in the Super Bowl or people they're comfortable with, and here comes this team from Seattle with a bunch of cocky guys and Pete Carroll just, having a great old time on the sideline without a care in the world, and a lot of people didn't like him at USC. And so I think Seahawks were just an easy team to hate, and all of a sudden Sherman just gave everyone that perfect villain, the face of the Seahawks, to just hate and go at.
Oh, yeah, totally. I totally agree with you. And some people, I'm play devil's advocate a little bit. Some people, are blaming the media for what? When you have that kind of emotion, you step off the field, you just made one of the biggest plays. Our team's going to the Super Bowl. Maybe we shouldn't stick a microphone in his face. But at the same time, if you stuck a microphone in Russell Wilson's face right after the game, if he just threw a touchdown to win the Super Bowl, would he have that kind of reaction? And is media to blame for outbursts like that?
No, no. Aaron Andrews is doing her job, man. That's exactly what she wanted to have happen. And that's the other part. I love Sherm. Obviously, I have his back. I don't find any fault in anything he did. But on that line too, I feel like athletes sometimes. You talk about not to switch gears completely, but Marcus Smart, his reaction when he goes in the stands, and then Sherman afterwards, and that built-in excuse that they're in the heat of the moment. I mean, that's what athletics is about: being in the heat of the moment and composing yourself. So I don't blame the media at all.
Yeah, totally. There's some point where you got to be like, hey, it's going to be said. You're playing on a national stage, and you got to compose yourself. But to call him, some of the things that happened today, and for us to harp on a guy that Stanford graduate, all that stuff, forget about it. He's never been in trouble off the field. Never. He's never been in trouble. He's not running people over with his car. He's not getting DUIs. He's not smoking a bunch of weed. The closest thing was the Adderall charge, and say what you want, but that got thrown out. Why is it that he becomes a thug for everything he's done? It just, you got Justin Bieber and all this other crap doing all this stuff. But some tough guy can sit behind his computer on Twitter and say the most racist. I swear to God, think it was the day after Martin Luther King Day, looking at it, and you have setting our society 100 years back with some of the stuff that people are saying and attaching their name to it, which just blows my freaking mind. But the thing is, you can't call this guy a thug for what? For what? Does he have a gun charge? Did he shoot himself in the leg? It's unbelievable. What's the name of the dude from the Cowboys? I can't think of it. Who killed his teammate? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I just think I think those become. They were out there. Don't get me wrong. That was a story, but it just gets pushed to the back. And then this Sherman guy is such a thug, and just I have a ridiculous problem with that. But the thing is he didn't ask to be a role model, but because he is in his position, does he have to be?
No, I think he gets to be himself, but he needs to know that he's in the public eye, and I think he is very aware of that. He's such an intelligent guy. He knows exactly what he's doing. You brought up the MLK thing. That crossed my mind. He's so smart. He might have known that, if I blow up here tonight after a big win and people are going to call me all these things the next day, it's going to bring so much awareness to the fact that we still have a long ways to go as a country,
Yeah, I mean, you said it. The dude, everything he does is calculated. You know what I mean? Right. So that's why I think the spur of the moment thing should be kind of pulled back with Sherman, because he's such an articulate guy that you're amped up, but he knew, like, because what the cameras didn't show, if you watch sound effects, he went and he hugged Aaron Andrews and blah, blah. He had enough time to be like, if he didn't, to calm himself down. It was meticulous. He was still pissed off for whatever happened between him and Crabtree. But, yeah. I mean, I agree. I think we just need to get careful. You be who you are, and you can choose to be a role model, and that's what you want to do. But we got to be careful by just killing these guys, calling them all kinds of things and thugs just for speaking their mind. And he didn't even cuss. He didn't do anything like that, No, and perfect example of what you're just talking about, how, he's not shooting himself in the leg. Just in the last little bit, we've had two perfect examples. We had Raymond Felton, actually getting in trouble, with the gun. And then we got Ray Rice, putting hands on a woman. All of a sudden, those are headlines. But Raymond Felton's playing again already. Per NBA rules and the Player Association. But Ray Rice is going to be playing next year, and by the time he's out there in the field, no one's going to be calling him a thug. They're just going to be cheering for him. Ray Rice, diddle up the middle, or whatever it is. So, it's just so inconsistent. So it's totally right, and that's just kind of the world we live in. And us media guys sometimes make it better, worse, whatever. But that's the world we live in, and I hope some of that can change a little bit. I hope when we call someone a thug, he earned that label. Stuff like that. Guys like Sherman, guys who speak their mind and that articulate shouldn't be grouped into that pool. But you want to talk about people speaking their mind. First off, before I even get into this topic, what's your feel in the Winter Olympics? Do you care? Do you like it at all? Is it stupid? Is it dumb? Did you actually watch any of it?
I think it's a combination of the fact that I don't care about any of the events, in themselves, and the time difference being over in Sochi. When it was in Vancouver, I watched it because it was convenient. Prime time was prime time. I got to watch events live. But, at this day and age with news so readily available to me, I don't want to, go on ESPN.com and find out what happened and then 12 hours later pretend like I'm watching something live in an event that I don't even care about in the first place.
You hit the nail on the head. Couldn't have said any better. I mean, honestly, I'm a Summer Olympics guy myself. I watched a little bit of Vancouver, but I'm more summer, more track and field, obviously basketball, that kind of thing. So I really don't care too much about the Winter Olympics, but this thing caught my eye. And so I'm going to give you a little background. So there's a Dutch speed skating coach, right? The Netherlands, they're really good at speed skating. They pretty much swept out all the gold, silver, right, bronze, all the medals. And their coach decided he was going to, someone asked him a question, and he decided he was going to take shots at us dumb Americans who play that, what's that sport called, that American football? Here it is.
I think that is a question about America not winning medals here is more about the system that you have in your country. Because you have a lot of attention for a foolish sport like American football, and you waste a lot of talent, athletic talent, in a sport where it's meant to kill each other, to injure each other, and nobody in the world is competing you at that field. And when you come from once in 4 years and you think with talent, with a few lone wolves who are skating, you can beat the world, there's no way you can do that. And you won't beat us not in 4 years, not in 8 years anymore, when you don't change. Because you're so narrow-minded, yeah, and then you want to compete against the world, while you waste a lot of good talent in a sport that sucks.
In a sport that sucks, you narrow-minded Americans, you waste all your time playing that stupid American football, in a sport to kill each. What the hell is this guy talking about?
Oh, man, I'm happy. That was the first time I heard that clip. I don't even know what to say. I mean, the thing that comes to mind immediately, I don't know, for Family Guy viewers out there, when Peter joins the London Chili Nannies and they play the New England Patriots.
Yes.
That's what would happen. That's what would happen if the world tried to play us in football. That's why they don't play us in football, because they would actually die. Like,
it doesn't make no sense. Here's the thing. If we wanted to be good at speed skating, we would dominate. Are you kidding me? How many world-class athletes we have? You know what? How about you go around a ring and have someone try to knock your head off? How about you do that?
Oh, man. That's good stuff right there. I mean, talk about, I don't know. I got nothing more to say about that guy, I don't think. He just,
yeah.
I love it.
I couldn't pass it by, but this guy is a complete joke. I mean, here's the thing. Quick thing. We don't care about those little sports. You can say what you want about American football. It's the most popular thing out there. And you know what? Yeah. So we don't do speed skating. We don't do all this other Winter Olympic stuff. And he's talking about the medal count. Yeah, we ended up losing, but he acted like we had 3 medals. It was like 32-28 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? That guy's an idiot.
He's out here speaking his mind. Why don't we label him a thug? You know, he's the thug.
Right? Out here talking about a whole sport. Give me a break. You know what? Sorry, I just had to get that one off. But this guy, what an idiot. What an idiot. But in other news, so you're a big Twitter guy, right?
What's that?
You're a big Twitter guy, correct?
I'm a big Twitter guy. I consider myself a pioneer back in 2009.
Yeah, you long before me. I was still just Facebooking it. I didn't get a Twitter about 2 years ago, and I don't really tweet that much. I more follow people, and I retweet a lot, and only sports related. But you brought it up a little bit earlier. So social media it's like you said, you're a big Twitter guy, and athletes today have to deal with a lot of different stuff that ones before them didn't. So when you go play a game, you know you're a basketball player. You go play a game and you miss last second shot. You go home. Worst thing people before us had to do is read about it in the paper, or people talking about it, or people saying about the arena. But now you go home and you look at your mention feeds, and it's blown up with 700 people saying you're a piece of crap, like don't come to our school, go kill yourself, all this kind of thing. And that's what social media is. You're gonna have a lot of people building you up and a lot of people breaking you down. And Rick Pitino was on Mike and Mike last week, and he just kind of talked about what social media is doing to these young athletes these days.
We're in a town where there are 350, 400,000 UK fans. We have a lot of mixed marriages where a lot of Louisville men marry Kentucky women and vice versa. So in that town, immediately after a game, you'll get a lot of Kentucky haters that get on Twitter, get on social media, and just kill our players. So I constantly tell our guys, why would you want to read that type of poison and venom? It's only going to get you in a bad mood. I'm trying to get our players all the time to read more, to pay attention to things that are really, really important. To be on social media is just like taking every hour a little bit more of poison, because it poisons your mind. Even when they say positive things, it blows you up. It gets you in an unreal world, and it's not healthy for athletes to be on that.
Okay, so like I asked you before, you said you're a big Twitter guy. How do you feel about what Rick just said?
No, I think he's spot on. I mean, I don't think it's realistic to ask your players not to read their mentions, because, I mean, like, you know, I would read my mentions if I had been a higher profile, you know, a Division I guy or something. I absolutely would have gone there and read what people are talking about me. You know, so I understand his sentiment. It's an unrealistic expectation for them not to read it, but I'd certainly hear what he's coming from. You know, because it does. I mean, it puts doubts in your mind maybe about yourself, or it gets you worked up, or it just affects your mood in a way that it wouldn't have, you know, even just 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, totally. I think we have to be. It's a really tough thing to do at this day and age, because, like you said, people are going to read it. There's no way that, especially a 19-year-old, 18-year-old kid who all he knows is social media, there's no way he's not going to look at that. And I don't think it's a problem anymore if people, like, the problem used to be people hitting reply and saying dumb stuff. And I don't think that's more the issue. No, I think it's more that people are reading it and it's affecting them. And I think, yeah, you're probably going to read it, but you have to be it's hard to say. I've never been in their shoes. You got to be a bigger person. You got to be able to know that you can't let that bother you. Because here's one of two things happens. You either A, you let it affect you and it screws you up, and some dummy behind a keyboard in Minnesota who doesn't have one athletic bone in his body is now affecting you on the court when you're playing at Kansas or Florida or whatever. Or you can read it and be like, this guy is an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and use it towards motivation, or just ignore it completely,
Right.
So it's tough. I don't really know what the solution is besides to be a bigger person and ignore it.
Yeah, I personally, I think, and who knows what I would do if I were in these guys' shoes, but like Colin Cowherd, for instance, always retweets people who say bad things about him on Twitter. And I feel like if a lot of people did that more often, these people that love to be anonymous behind the keyboard in Minnesota, like you're talking about, would kind of subside a little bit because they think they're anonymous. They think that, they can say something and a few of their followers might see it and think it's funny and favorite it. And chances are the person they're tweeting at won't even see it. But if you took the time to just retweet like 4 or 5 of these clowns every night and put them on blast in the public eye, and now everyone sees it, and now what happens? Their mentions fill up with hate, I think that would almost be an effective way to combat it if you were a high-profile athlete.
Oh, yeah, totally. I think it's funny when people retweet dumb stuff said about him. Like my girlfriend watches Jimmy Kimmel, and he has a segment where it's like where celebrities read mean tweets about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an NBA one about it. I just think it's hilarious. I would favorite retweet nonstop because when I'm running the board over here at 710, I got to be more like reserved about it. But we have a text away, and people text in all day long. But we have a function where we can reply. And after a while, when some are just so ridiculous, some of the stuff people are saying about Michael Sam, which is a topic for a completely different day, I would just reply to them and just laugh. Or when people talk bad about the Mariners, like, why are you talking about them? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, we're the flagship. Buckle up, dude. We're going to be talking about it for 7 months. Yep. So I love to just reply back, just like laugh or like, all right, see you in September.
Yep.
But yeah.
I think it's just accountability. It's the way to hold people accountable when they don't think that they can be.
You were a coach this year. Did you have any issues with your squad this year as far as social media or anything within the Meadowdale basketball program?
Not really. I talked to my guys a little bit. I put it in our kind of, JV team rules that, they know that I follow them and I see what they say. And so, I basically said, I'm not going to be looking for stuff, but if I see something that would, defame the team or the program or a teammate or something like that, then, we're going to have a conversation about that. And my guys were pretty good this year about it. I think if you just realistic with it, I think coaches that try to put complete clamps down, like a no Twitter rule for the year or something like that, I think especially now how much it's blown up again, that's unrealistic. If you're just upfront and honest with them about, you're representing not only yourself but the program, just like if you were to go out in public wearing a Meadowdale basketball sweatshirt. So they just need to realize that it's not just for them and their friend. You tweet something, it's out there forever. So
yeah, no. I coached football this year, and we didn't have a huge issue with it. We had a couple spells. We had one player to remain unnamed decide that he was going to speak on behalf of the entire defense and say, man, defense, great game. Offense needs to pick it up. They're killing us. And that got nipped in the butt by our head coach right away. And it's things like that. They got to realize you're not helping anyone doing that. They honestly think that some kids at least think that what's being said is just going to be gone or erased. Dude, you put that out there, it's out there forever. You know what I mean? Yep. Especially
even
this. And it's. And I think you're right. You can't expect them. You can't clamp down. It's like no Twitter at all ever. But kids got to be smart, and they got to know. If I was the head coach or if I was at any of these bigger programs, I wouldn't put clamps on it. But if I saw one thing, dude, you're gonna run till you can't walk anymore, and it just steps like that. But kids got to be smarter. And while we're talking about kids, I mean, we graduated in 2009, so we're not old farts yet. But
yeah, these dang kids.
We're getting close, and I don't want to sound like that. I hate sounding like that. Well, back in my day, But seriously, when we were in high school, it was, as far as people going to games, it was a good deal, man. I mean, I remember that district championship we played in. That gym was packed, and people. You see other schools and school spirit, and it was fun to go to games. Like, as a person, I'd love to be in that environment, even if it's a random high school game. I love hearing the band play. I love. just that environment when everyone cares so much about it and people are kind of passionate. And I've seen kind of a disturbing trend in the last year since I've been out of high school. It doesn't seem that people carry the same emotion, or I mean, they might come out for some big type games, and also it doesn't help when you lose a couple games. But do you think that this is this a cycle we're seeing? Is it just where we're from? Or do you think just in general, support of high school athletics and crowd/spirit is going down?
If you'd asked me like a week ago, I might have had a different answer. I've been recently re-inspired by maybe the sport of high school athletics, because I think maybe it's a cycle and hopefully not a trend. But I went and watched the 4A District 1 championships last either Friday night over at Glacier Peak, and it was the Linwood girls versus the Arlington girls at 6, and then Jackson versus Arlington boys at 8. And Glacier Peak was absolutely packed, and that place holds probably 3,000 people, maybe 3,500. I mean, packed, uncomfortable, hot, to where you're sweating in there for no reason, and that, I mean, that's what high school basketball is about. Arlington brings in 5 Reuter buses or whatever, and so like you were saying, big games, people will come up and show up. But I mean, that was impressive. But I've seen Jackson play a few times this year, and obviously they're a really good team, but they have great student support. So I think it's just a combination of the team and then the culture of that school. But definitely, I think kids have so many other things that they think they can be doing, which is fine. I'm not, for me, I'd rather go watch a team play. But, whereas in the past, if you weren't out at a football or a basketball game on a Friday night, like, you were kind of a social outcast, whereas now, you can be at home on Twitter, and, you can text your friend and go meet up somewhere. It's just so much more easy to be doing something that you think is better with your time than going and watching your school play.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there is more options, which is interesting. Like, again, we just keep sounding like old farts. Like, back in our day, there was only one thing to do. But it's true, though. Like, I mean, I played football, but we had every night our student section was completely packed, and even bigger for big games. You know what I mean?
You're welcome.
Oh, thanks, Captain. What would we call it? The Blue Thunder? Is that still around?
Blue Hole? Come on now.
No, I think, I mean, you said it perfectly. I mean, people are going to come out for big games. I remember we played in the football game, and I think it was like quarterfinals against O'Day, and that place was packed. It was a standing room only. We got our butts kicked 42-7, and I had one of the worst moments I've had in my football life. I dropped a pick 6 in front of a lot of people, and was on King 5 News. But that's not the story. The story is how many people were there. And it was a great atmosphere, and I think that's something that hopefully can return to some places that have, kind of fell off and lost out along the way. And I just think people need, and it really helps teams that aren't playing well. It helps to get hyped up when you have a crowd to play for. Nothing is more demoralizing than you coming out for warm-ups and seeing 7 people in the gym.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that really helps, and hopefully you're right. Hopefully it was a cycle and not a trend. But something even more troubling than people going to games is and I'll put it in your words, the gym rat mentality, and guys not being entitled and working for stuff. And how would you describe the gym rat mentality that you probably had when you were in high school?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the gym, my whole life, and I had older siblings that played sports, but I just feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we're on our old fart soapbox right now, but I feel like the gym rat species itself has kind of died down. Like, I don't get the feeling a whole bunch of kids just, go spend a day at the gym, and they're just, they shoot, and then they lift, and then they just keep shooting, and then they play, and, not because they're told to, or because, their mom or dad says, you need to do this if you want to make the team next year or something like that, but because it's what they love to do, and there's nothing they'd rather be doing. And I just feel like, I don't know, and again, maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like that species is kind of dying down, and I think that maybe leads to the down cycle in the crowd, because if you're not passionate about it, as passionate about it, why would people be passionate about coming and watching you,
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely for, let's say, use football as an example, and what I've noticed is there's a core group. There's a group that regardless of how much your coach rides you or how much whatever he tells you to do, you got to be in the gym, lift, and do this, blah, blah, blah. They're going to be in there working their butt off. They're going to lift. They're going to run. They're going to do all that stuff without being forced or pushed towards.
Absolutely.
And then there's the rest who either just won't do it plain and simple and just show up and try to go play and not work on their craft at all. And then there's the ones that need to constantly just be kicked in the butt to get out there and do it or to lift. And I think part of that is, I think certain classes and certain classes of kids that come in kind of feel this entitlement thing. It's like, you know what? Hey, Roger, I'm a junior, so I should start. You know, or I should be on the team, or I should be doing this, opposed to the guy who's like, dude, I don't care. I'm a freshman. I'm going to work my tail end off to just try to be on the team. You know what I mean? And that's kind of troubling to me. Like I said, I got to watch it firsthand, and I got to see a lot of guys that just worked their tail off, and it was great to see that. But then you saw the other ones that was just like, dude, you got some talent. You could really help us out next year. But just the kind of the entitlement is kind of just like, I'll just kind of show up, and the freshmen below me aren't going to pass me next year. Or I lifted, this much weight when I was a freshman, and now I can bench the same amount going into my junior year. It's like, how does that? I don't know how that happens. It's sad, and I hope we're going in a different. I hope this, again, like we talked about earlier, I hope it's just a trend, because good programs, at least across the state, they're consistent about every freaking thing they do.
Yes, sir.
They're consistently in the gym. They're consistently hitting the weights. They don't have to be told to do any of this stuff. And the ones that probably aren't as dedicated.
No, absolutely. And it's, like you talk about those consistent programs, and it's, it starts when these kids are, in 4th and 5th grade, and they're going to the games and they're looking up to those guys. And then, by the time they hit high school, they're like, totally bought in. Like, what do I got to do, to put myself in that position to go be playing games at the Tacoma Dome or whatever it may be. And, and they're willing to just sell out for it. And there's a lot of other factors that go into, sustaining a program a long time. But that's how it builds upon each other is when just kids are generally just excited about it, and they're willing to do anything to have those same experiences again.
Oh yeah, and the funny thing about this, last quick thing, is when even when I was younger, even when we first got into high school, you looked up at like the senior class and you're just like, man, those guys are great, those guys this and that. In a lot of cases, no, they're not. No, they're not. You're just not there yet. I mean, I remember seeing some of the guys in varsity. It's like, man, I just hope I can be that guy. And now when I got to that point, I was like, oh my God, if I'm just that guy, then I am not very good.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There were some, and who knows who's going to listen to this, so we don't need to name names, but there were certainly some seniors like on the varsity basketball team when we were freshmen that had a very limited skill set, and I thought they were just outstanding. So.
Oh yeah, and you know what? It's funny that I say this because I know there's some kid out there, maybe not this class, but maybe the class before, somewhere around there that was like, man, Nasser's pretty good. He started every game. Like, I want to strive to be that guy. And then they got there, it's like, man, he tried hard, but he had no skills.
Yeah, little did they know you were just a football guy.
Oh, yeah, just a football guy. All right, well, there's the show close music. It's been a great show. I mean, this show flew by. I mean, we covered Seahawks, Dynasty, Richard Sherman, an idiot Olympics guy, high school sports, all that good stuff. And it has been a blast to have my buddy here, Roger O'Neill, courtesy of the Sky Vodka Bold Move Hotline. And Roger, it's been a fun show. We should probably make this the weekly thing, huh?
Oh, man, I'd love to. It was a blast coming on the show, Nass.
All right, guys, make sure you catch this week version of the Nasser Kyobe Show featuring Roger O'Neill. It's been a fun week. We'll try to get back next week and get to some more issues. But until next time, guys, thanks for listening.